Welcome to Funeral Disruptors. I'm your host, Felicia Barlow-Clark, an award-winning event and video producer, author, and Sacred Life celebrant. I'm also a funeral disruptor. I help people understand there are alternatives to funeral homes that help us mourn in an intentional way, and I plan personalized, unique memorial services. The past 2 years, I've delved deep to see what is available to tell our loved ones' stories and found many alternatives and options that often funeral homes don't share. I host this podcast to share the resources few consumers know exist. Along my path, I meet amazing people, and Patti DiMiceli happens to be one of them. It's my honor to introduce her today. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio because it's impressive here. This just sums it perfectly. Today, more than ever, people need to feel connected, cared for, and comforted. Having lived through deep darkness, Patti has learned to live again by moving forward step by baby step towards the light. We all need to feel hope, to believe that anything is possible if we have help, purpose, and heart. Patti is surrounded by her beloved circle of angels, both here and in heaven, who provide just that. Her stories of courage and passion are shared from a practical, heartfelt, inspirational approach and serving humanity for the greater good. Patti, I'm going to let you share the story of Amber because you do it with such grace.
Thank you.
Some of what you do. Patti is a life coach and end-of-life doula, a certified grief educator and coach, as well as an entrepreneur. Oh, this one just, I'm sorry, you just touched me so much because you literally are, I think, the epitome of an angel walking on earth. You really are. So I am going to ask you to share your story so people understand why I'm so enamored with you.
Oh, well, I first and foremost am a human being with all my faults and foibles. And, I just happen to be also aware that I'm also an angel. So I'm an angel inside this human body. I believe that that everyone comes to earth as an angel. And at one point or another, we decide, some of us decide, make that choice, choose the darkness rather than the light. I was blessed at a very early age to know that I was chosen, as I said, as we all are, but I knew it. And I wasn't sure why, but even as a little girl, I would ask God to come and show himself to me. And, I prayed for a miracle. But what happened was I gave birth to Amber, my daughter, and I documented our life together, thinking that I would die before she was 6. So I have movies and photos and drawings. And so I became a single mom. I was divorced. I became a single mom. And in August of 1979, we were homeless and ended up I found a job in construction as a laborer. I was one of the first women in that field. And it was great because I was able to rent a room. So Amber and I rented a room, and I was putting her to bed. It was an August evening, and I was stroking her hair. And as I did, I discovered a lump about the size of a walnut behind her right ear. And my first thought was, oh my God, cancer. And I didn't even know kids got cancer. This was before personal computers and the internet. So the next thought or words that I heard was, it's not you who will die, it's Amber. And I was just like so taken aback. So I spent the next several months, I think it was 7 or 8 months, traveling around the state of Connecticut, trying to convince 8 different doctors to biopsy it to see if it was cancer. But they just shook their head and looked at me like I was an overreacting mom. Lots of kids get lots of lumps and bumps, and so I couldn't find a doctor to operate. And she ended up falling and hitting it on a fireplace, and it doubled in size. I had taken her to the emergency room, and they operated on her. They The night before surgery, we're saying it couldn't be cancer, and the next day it was cancer, and it was in the 3rd stage. So there's 4 stages to cancer. So, oh my goodness. Well, here I was, a single mom, and I'm a good mom, and I wanted to, do the best I could possibly do for Amber. So she had the surgery. I allowed them to give her radiation to that area. It was behind her right ear after they took the initial tumor out. And I didn't know what other therapies were out there. I just felt that there was something more. So I ended up, after Amber was discharged from Yale New Haven Hospital, took her to the New Haven Register and made a public plea if there's any other cancer therapies out there. And the Associated Press picked up on it, so it went around the world and was like inundated with, telegrams and phone calls and everything. And I documented everything, as I said. So I ended up having to sneak out of the country to give her immunotherapy because Dr. Lawrence Burton, who's one of the founders of immunotherapy at St. Vincent's in New York, they wouldn't let him practice. So he had to go to the Bahamas to practice his immunotherapy. And we ended up taking Amber there. And during the time we were there, metastasis started to grow where they excised the first tumor, and it flattened out with immunotherapy. And basically, the therapy consisted of me drawing her blood 4 times a day, taking it to the clinic, and they would measure the protein fractions in the immune system. So it was working. It was, miraculous. And then she got tonsillitis, and her immune system couldn't keep up. So the tumor started to grow rapidly again, and we couldn't find a surgeon to help us because we had left the country and we were in the media. But Bernie Siegel, we're still friends. He's an amazing man. He wrote several books himself, and he stepped right up and said, I will treat Amber as my own. And he did. And we came back to the US, admitted her to St. Raphael's in New Haven. He spent a week and assembled a team of surgeons and doctors to try to save her life. And it had gone too far. So by this time, the tumor was like huge, outside and inside of her head. So Amber's cancer was visible. I could actually see the cancer. It wasn't hidden inside of her body. I went down to the chapel after Bernie had told me that they couldn't save her life. And I just heard the words, let her come to me. And I made that decision to let her die. Before I left the hospital, she was doing some tests, and I was in line at the gift shop to give her something when she woke up from anesthesia. And I was in line waiting, and I heard, turn around. And I did. I turned around, and Felicia, it was so cool. I keep this near me because it's just a reminder. I saw a rack of keys, and I heard, give this to Amber and tell her it's the key to heaven, so that when she feels that she's going to die, she can open the golden gates. And I did. And so Amber held this key as she was dying. And for me, this key is the physical link between me and Amber. And I realized, having studied grief and grieving and the bereaved and dying for, 40 plus years now, that really the physical element is so neglected, if you will. It's a need that we all have. We miss them physically as well as emotionally. So it's kind of neat. I developed this really cool giving back division that we donate silky angels to those that are grieving and those that are dying. And it's just a way for people to feel the comfort of their loved one. It's the silk scarves and ties are covered with photographs of angels I've taken from around the world, and beautiful inspirational quotes on either end. And then the pillow, I've collected 99 drawings of angels from kids around the world. So it's a silk satin pillow. And it's just a beautiful way to comfort those that are grieving and those that are dying. So basically, Amber knew she was going to die. She, did some spontaneous drawings. Actually, Bernie uses her drawing. Um, and we were able to decipher exactly how Amber felt about her life and her death through the drawings. And it was about 5 minutes to midnight on October 29th, 1980. And we sang happy birthday to me. And I didn't even realize it was my birthday the next day. And then just after midnight, Amber went into a coma, and she had chosen the outfit that she wanted to go to heaven in. And we dressed her in the outfit, and she wanted to die at home. So I have a recording of this, and I transcribed it for her book, Embrace the Angel. And there's a free ebook on our Embrace the Angel website. And when I was talking to her, the audio, as I'm listening to it to transcribe it for the book, I was saying, thank you, Amber, for coming and showing me love. And, you have the best buns in town. And I was just every single thing I wanted her to know before she died. And she started crying. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I wiped her tears away. And I'm continuing to just tell her and shower her with love and gratitude. And when I was, saying, I'll be okay, Amber, a lot of tears started coming down, like uncontrollably. And I realized at that time she wasn't afraid to die, but she was afraid to leave me behind. And when I said, I'll be okay, Amber, I'll be okay. And then I said, go now, be with God, Amber. And as soon as I said those words, she stopped breathing, and my whole body started tingling. I mean, it was like I had, put my finger in an electrical outlet from the tips of my hair to my toes. It was like a buzzing, like you sit on your leg and you can feel the circulation is like screaming, except it was the light. It was her light. And I felt her literally merge right through me and with the divine. And I knew that the words that she said to me shortly before she died, she said, Mom, when I die, I'll still be Amber. I'll just be different. And that was exactly what she meant. She never left. She's always with me. I see her all the time. She speaks through me, and she's just different. So having been given that miracle that, she told me what's going to happen when we die, we just change. I just felt the opposite of what I had written in my journal that I had put in the book. I imagined myself falling apart, actually not being able to live, but her actual death was the opposite of that. And I was gifted a miracle. So my purpose for being here on earth is to share that miracle with those that need hope, a little bit of hope, and to carry on Amber's legacy here, to elevate others. So I feel incredibly blessed.
Every time I hear parts of this story, it makes me crumble inside. So,
Mm.
but when you talk about that shift at the end and kind of what my whole thing is about, grief to gratitude, it's just so beautiful. Like I would say I don't know how you went on, but I think the fact that you realize that we are not just physical beings, we are here, energetically.
Yeah.
This says a lot. And you mentioned you wrote a book. What is the book? This story? I mean,
Yeah, it's funny, Felicia, because I really have a real hard time saying I wrote the book or my book. I have such a hard time because when I wrote the second edition, I literally for a year went into this like other world and simply typed. It was coming right through me. So I call it Amber's book because I just typed it. But yeah, it's Embrace the Angel, and it's about my childhood and the horrific childhood that I went through. And I put it in there. I kind of hesitated putting that part in the book because I don't want pity at all. but I also know that I'm not alone, and there's a lot of people that had very abusive childhoods. So if I put that in, that at least people will know that, we all suffer in one way or another. But, through Amber and through, the source or the divine, and feeling that miracle, and, like I said, having recorded it. I mean, if I hadn't recorded it, it probably would have slipped into history somewhere. But yeah, I do feel incredibly grateful and blessed that I was gifted this miracle.
It's amazing. I have found myself that people that have suffered, I don't want to say like the most, but people that seem to have had a really harsh childhood or upbringing seem to be the ones. I mean, you can either have the victim mentality, but the people that I have surrounded by me uh, have really elevated, like you, like are so deep and so deeply spiritual that it's just that shift. Like that you have made, and you've made it your life purpose. You do so much, like from the pillows and scarves, and I've seen your photography, with the close up. I said, wow, you do the same thing I do when I travel. I'm that person with the camera, like right up on the details of everything. And you've made beautiful products out of that. What do you sell those within the Embrace the Angel? I mean, it looks like you have so many different entrepreneurial endeavors. You've got Tobias and Company and Embrace the Angel. Do they fit in there?
Yeah, well, I started Tobias and Company. Tobias is my son's name, Toby. And so I started Tobias and Company I used to, when we could travel, I traveled around the world and I took photographs of like creatures like gargoyles and doors and windows and door knockers. And I
Mhm.
ended up taking those images and putting them onto silk satin, beautiful buttery scarves and ties and pillows. So I have some Tuscany. I have doors of Tuscany and knockers of Tuscany, and I have Annapolis, like knockers of Annapolis, some door knockers in the historic district. I have a Naval Academy collection, which is creatures, doors, and windows of the Naval Academy, which is fantastic since my son's in the Navy. Um, yeah, and we sell them on Tobias and Company, and then the Giving Back division. So all the profits from Tobias and Company go to support Embrace the Angel, which is the Giving Back division, we call it. And we donate an Embrace the Angel silk scarf, tie, or pillow to a bereaved mom, dad, or critically ill child. And that is so fantastic, Felicia. I mean, I'm not meant to know, I always call myself a pebble thrower in the still pond of life. I actually hand out these neat little, you have one, I'm sure, right? The little pewter coins.
Let's see, is it this one? I know I have it somewhere here with my collection. Mine, I
Yeah,
remember mine though, is Courage. It's somewhere
I
up
have
here.
it. But it's kind of nice, I offer this as I travel through life, and I say I'm a pebble thrower, whether it's a waitress or somebody cleaning the bathroom, or it doesn't matter, just another human. And I say I'm a pebble thrower in the still pond of life, and these are my pebbles. And then I hold the bag out and I say, choose one for yourself and one for someone you love. And then they become a pebble thrower too, which is kind of cool. Um, but yeah, it's been a beautiful way to change lives. These tiny little coins. There's 5 words on the back. So there's courage, faith, hope, peace, and love.
Hmm.
And usually, I mean, I've passed out thousands of these, and there's people around the world I've watched lives just be transformed. I mean, people have fallen to the ground weeping uncontrollably. People have rushed me when we could hug, just like on me, and it's just been an amazing experience. So, yeah, it's been fantastic, and I feel incredibly blessed. I do have a really quick story. Can I tell you a story about the pillow?
Yes.
Um, Before I moved into Angelina, which is my full-time tiny home on wheels, it's a 28-foot Grand Design. So I have Angelina and I have Larry, my Ford F-250 Lariat. So I have Larry and Angelina. But before I moved in here, I was studying the lifestyle and studying especially single women. And Carolyn's RV as one of the YouTubers I followed, and she had a contest, and she said, if you, it's for small businesses, she was helping out small businesses. If you send in a product, we will give them away. So I sent the full set of Embrace the Angel, the scarf tie, and the pillow. And this woman in Florida won it, and a friend of hers volunteered for hospice. So she said, as soon as I know who I'm giving these to, I'll let you know. So a little while passed, and I got this beautiful email. This woman had decided that she was going to give the pillow, the one that's got 99 drawings of angels from kids around the world. And she gave it to a little 5-year-old girl. And this little 5-year-old, her mother, who was 29, was dying of cancer, and she was in hospice. So the little girl took this pillow, crawled into bed with her mom, and lay there with this pillow and her mother. And she said, and I know once the mother passes that she will have this pillow to cling to remind her of her mom. And it's those sorts of stories that I realized that the key to heaven was my link. And now, because of God's grace and bestowing upon me talents and tools and skills, that now this little girl is going to have this silky pillow filled with angels to remind her of her mom. And, you know, as a human being on earth, I feel humbled, but I also feel incredibly powerful that, you know, I can provide that for someone else, like, you know, God and Amber did for me. So it's pretty neat.
Was all of this born out of Amber's passing? I mean, did you have any kind of work like this prior, or you were a disruptor there too, by the way?
I tell you, I've done a lot of different things in my life, but I like it, you know?
Mm.
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of different jobs and I really enjoy it. But what I came to see was when I wrote the second edition, and it was published in 2011. When I wrote the second edition, it just dawned on me, wow, you know, I could create something for others to cling to. So in 2013, actually, I learned how to hand paint silk from Rebecca Pearson, my silk painting teacher. And I started painting these beautiful royal blue scarves with like clouds and stars. And then in calligraphy, I used to teach calligraphy. So around the edge of the silk scarf, I'd put all these beautiful inspirational quotes. And I was donating them because I work with Anne Arundel County, the bereaved parents of the USA. I do some facilitating with them. And I started giving them to the bereaved moms because I saw that what you miss the most, again, is the physicalness. And because silk is so close to the feel of skin, I thought, ooh, what if I could paint one? So I started painting them like crazy, unfortunately. And my hand was like a claw because it was couldn't keep. So I ended up just taking the photos and then collecting the drawings for the kids' pillow. But yeah, so then I just started donating them. We don't have the lifelines in place, so we donate like to Children's Hospice International and, you know, some of the bereaved parents groups and things. So they know who needs these things, and so yeah, it's been a beautiful way for me to bring a little bit of comfort to someone else, maybe a little inspiration. And the kids absolutely love the pillow, so. We're working right now on the next pillow, which is called Grace's Angels. When I was doing the first pillow, I was collecting drawings everywhere I went. And I had these little cards. And this little girl, Grace, who was 9 at the time, she took a stack of them back to her class and had all her classmates draw angels. So then, it's so cool. So she said, and I have its little 45-second audio on the Embrace the Angel website that the angel advocates, and Grace for 45 seconds talks about angels. And at the very end, so cool, she says, so I'm going to collect 100 angels for sick kids around the world. And so we decided to name the next pillow Grace's Angels, and she picked her favorite color, which is a seafoam green. And so we're going to be doing a Kickstarter campaign next month in November and launching Grace's Angels. So it's really exciting to, carry it on and have Grace and all of her classmates and friends feel empowered, like they too can help other kids that are sick. So it's really neat.
I would say it's not lost on me either that all these words in your life, like Angelina and Grace, I talk about the universe giving you the perfect things at the right time. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
But I would imagine, like you said in your bio, that it took baby steps. So how did you not, I'm going to ask, like, how did you move forward and not just become paralyzed in your grief? Because I know there are many people that do that. You know,
Yeah. Like I said, Felicia, I prayed for a miracle my whole life. But I was really that was a gift. And I knew it. And, not that I didn't, the depths of despair really, because she died on my 27th birthday, which is my 68th birthday will be Saturday the 30th. So Amber died on October 30th. And, you know, I there have been ups and downs. There have been times where I sit at the bottom of my shower and, cry and let the tears go down the drain. I mean, I think that's part of being human, is allowing yourself to feel. But, like David Kessler, I just got certified as a certified grief educator and coach through him. And he wrote a book on his own, but he also wrote two with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And Elizabeth came up with the 5 stages, and then David actually came up with the 6th. And the 6th stage of grieving is finding meaning. And the people that I work with, the folks that I walk through their grief with them and witness their grief, that's something that when they're wanting to, when they're able, finding meaning makes all the difference.
and when you say finding meaning, I don't think you mean in the death. Do you mean in the life of the person?
Yeah. And well, I think it's all of it. I mean, we're all going to die, and there's nothing wrong with death, but it also takes us by surprise, mostly. But finding meaning in Amber's life and her crossing that threshold between life and death. And now afterwards, she's here and other people have been elevated by her. So I think it's finding meaning in the full, complete circle of life,
Mhm.
death, and life. It's a complete circle.
Yeah. That's kind of like when I do my services, that's the exact message I want, is like finding meaning in somebody's life, because everybody is here with a purpose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
totally believe that. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Your work is pretty remarkable too. I mean, you take that time right after someone's crossed, and the grief is palpable, the loved ones, to be able to take those tears and channel them in such a way, it's almost like a river of tears, and you find a way to move down that river with them and look around and see the shore of life. And I mean, I admire your work
yeah.
very much.
Well, it's one of those things, like like we're so complex as human beings that I think the thing I really discovered with my sister and doing her service was we can hold grief and joy at the same time.
Yeah.
You don't have to be one or the other. And I think that's where, like, I don't want people to all get stuck in the funeral home model that focuses more on grief, because grief is always going to be with us. I'm sure it pops up for you at, you know, times when you go, oh, there's that again. I find that all the time. Like a song on the radio or something. Oh, there it is again.
Yeah, you're right. And just honoring yourself and acknowledging that. I mean, I have a huge sense of self in the way that I take care of myself. I mean, I just emerged from a pretty horrific marriage that was abusive, and it was extremely difficult for me to deal with that. And frankly, um, someone had mentioned to me, wow, Patti, you've already endured the worst thing that could possibly happen. You watched your daughter die. And I said, no, 20 years with a malignant narcissist was far worse. I mean, he nearly killed me and nearly killed my spirit and my soul. So each of us suffers. And, you know, I mean, it was hard for me to emerge from that with myself intact and try to, you know, catch my breath literally. Um, but, with the help of my beloved circle of angels around me and knowing that I'm here to serve a purpose, and I'm also here to take really good care of myself and be gentle with myself. So, yeah, I do my best to be really gentle and caring. And, I talk to myself, I call myself sweetheart and, how are you doing today, love? And, I mean, I'm very, very kind to myself and others, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's so important. I mean, that took me a long time to, I mean, quite honestly, I just had the surgery 6 weeks ago, and it was right before I got wheeled into the room that I kind of broke down going, oh my God, I've been so cruel to my body. Like
Oh,
kind of realizing we got one body in this lifetime. I mean, unless you really believe in metaphysics and quantum physics and all that, that it changes every 7 years or so. But um, yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine you as anything other than this vibrant life, like who's always spreading joy. Like I can't imagine you in a down place. How that took a toll. I was
yeah,
saying,
it did.
yeah. Oh, I can imagine. I've been around narcissists myself. So, now, one of the things, like how we met was at a
Hmm.
cafe. And a death cafe, like when I mention it to people, it's still something very new, even though there are 10,000 or probably more now around the world. Like, how did you discover death cafes and what made you start one?
Well, I actually heard it on NPR. It was National Public Radio, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe longer. And I thought, wow, that's a great, great concept. So John Underwood started death cafes in England, him and his sister, who's a psychologist, Jules. And um, they basically wanted a place for people to go and have tea and biscuits or cookies and just come together as a community and just talk about death and life and everything in between without an agenda. So there's never an agenda, which is important to them. Um, and when we were meeting live, which was so cool to have you at the Death Cafes, Felicia, I would just go to the library. And it was a beautiful venue and it was just nice for people to come together. Now I do them online, the Annapolis Death Cafe, and we do it every third Wednesday from 7 to 8:30. And it's always been special. I've really enjoyed the time because I don't know how people find it really, because in the past few months I haven't really put it out there because I've been doing a lot of training in grief work in the past few months. So, but people find their way, and it's just a beautiful conversation. Um, there's no agenda. It's a safe place for people to come. It's not therapy, but it is peer support, and it's just people talking about death and about living and about what they're discovering, and it kind of breaks down the barriers, especially in American culture. We don't talk about death. I mean, it's like the D word, you know, and people are afraid, and I get it, but it's not that way around the world. In other cultures, it's perfectly normal. People grieve and they wail, and they're allowed to just
Yeah.
let it out. They're allowed to express their grief, and the American culture's got a lot to learn from other cultures. And for me, I think that's one of the motivating factors to become a grief educator is to help people understand not only grief, but things to do and say to those that are grieving, you know?
Oh, good. That's important. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that a lot of people really get tripped up on is they don't know what to say. And I'm like, most of the time people just want you to listen
Yeah.
Or to share. That's the other thing. People think that if they say nothing, I'm like, oh gosh, saying nothing is probably the worst thing. You know, people want to know
Yeah.
that you remember their loved one. Mm.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool with these little pebbles and the different things that I have for people. So, one of the things I'm just now putting up on the Embrace the Angel website is send the angels. So, if your loved one is critically ill and you don't know what to say, or you can't be at their side or whatever, send the angels. And so I have the neat little pouches like I hand out, but just different card though, and people can just send them angels so that they know they're being thought of. They can hold something in their hand. It's just a way to communicate that you care when you're struggling to show that, so it's kind of cool.
That's lovely. Is that on your website?
Yeah, I'm just now putting it up. Today's Thursday. Yeah, I'll get it on Friday. So yeah, I'm just doing all that stuff right now, putting them up. But I do have the people send the scarves. They'll buy an Embrace the Angel scarf, and then we donate one. So they'll send a scarf. It's all really about letting people know that you care
Mhm.
and having them hold something tangible to comfort them. So yeah, again, it's that physical part of grieving that um, I believe needs to be addressed.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's lovely. And then you mentioned also that you are a death doula or end of life doula.
yeah. So one of the cool things, I did life coach, so I'm a certified life coach. And then a week later, I did the INELDO, which is the International End of Life Doula Association. An amazing, amazing group. So was trained through them, and now I'm an end of life doula, and then becoming a grief counselor. So, like I'd spoken about earlier, that complete circle. So yeah, so I specialize in obviously bereaved parents, um, children, and then pets, which I absolutely love working with people and their furry babies that are passing. So I've done some really profound doula work in that area. So yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's something I just posted the other day on my Facebook was a thing about being with your pet when if you have to put them down or things,
yeah,
but just when they transition. And you have a lovely story around that because I'm a big animal activist myself. So pet death is often a disenfranchised grief.
yeah.
People, I can remember when I was in 10th grade, my first cat passed away and I was absent from school for 2 days. And I remember people laughing at me. And I'm like, and I've just gotten worse since then when it comes to my pets because I don't have children. So I can only imagine
Mhm.
that. But you have a beautiful story about your dog and your
Oh
token.
yeah, yeah. This was so cool. I Yeah, it's been an absolutely amazing journey. So Lap of Love, they're a national organization, and they euthanize animals, and they come to your home. And so I decided to go with Lap of Love, and I actually filmed, well, Annie's whole life, but I filmed the last day of Annie's life. We took a walk at Quiet Waters Park, and I filmed my time with her. And then I had asked Lap of Love and Dr. Rachel, who came, Dr. Rachel Clickman, and I asked them if I could film Annie's death. And afterwards, I asked if I could put one of the pewter coins after Annie died, because she was going to get cremated, in her mouth. So it was the last day, and Dr. Rachel came, and my neighbor filmed it. I'm putting together a little 3 to 4 minute video about it now for those folks that want to see that part of death. Um, but I was talking to Annie, and like I did with Amber, and I was telling her how much she meant to me. And frankly, if it wasn't for Annie showing me love, I don't think I would be alive today. Um, So after Annie died, I took a card, I chose a card, and I peeled off the guardian angel coin, and the word was love. So cool. So I opened her mouth after she died, and I put the coin inside. And a couple of weeks later, when I got Annie's ashes in this beautiful teak box, there was a big bag of Annie's ashes. And then I looked further, and there was a tiny little bag with a pewter ball. and it was the love coin that they had saved for me. I didn't even ask for it. So I made a beautiful love necklace of the little guardian angel coin for Annie. So that was it was just a beautiful way to complete that circle again, you know. And for me, going through that ritual of her death soothed my soul afterwards so that I wasn't completely overwhelmed and devastated and felt I couldn't go on living. And I think in both Annie's example and Amber's, having those earthly symbols, those rituals, those ways that you can find meaning or some love or something to cling to, I think makes all the difference.
Oh, I agree. That's my sister's is the cherry blossom, which is why I've got cherry blossoms everywhere. Yeah, when we were cleaning out her house, it was the middle of November when we were getting near the end. And I went in her backyard and there was a cherry blossom tree, which normally in November they're dormant and there's nothing on them. There was this beautiful blossom on the cherry blossom tree. And she was born in Japan. So it's like,
Wow.
yeah, so it's always amazing to me. I'm always looking for the symbols everywhere of my loved ones.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's well, one of the things that I think has come out of this whole, being very intensive about the training that I'm doing, the certifications and all involving life and death and grief. I realize, especially now in the pandemic and for the last couple of years, the world feels so dark.
Yes.
And so I thought, wow, what if, because Amber always taught me whenever I light a candle, I hear Amber say, Mom, live in the light. And so this is really cool. I'll show you. So I'm starting this movement.
Oh,
Do that. So it's like a car sticker, and I have this on my truck, Larry.
oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I'll make sure I'll send some to you. But yeah, I'm going to be putting these up on the website as well, the Live in the Light. So that's the new movement, is to, in this dark world, let's choose to live in the light. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of a cool outcropping of, finding light in a dark place.
It really is. That's kind of the same message I have in going from grief to gratitude. It's like, it's always going to be there. People pass away. It's just a natural cycle of life. And you're right. Like Americans, we do handle it very different than parts of the world.
Yeah. Well, on that note, me and Larry and Angelina, we're like taking off in late spring, summer, and we're going to be doing our Power of Pebbles and Angels nationwide tour. I'm really excited. I'm going to be aiming to head north to the Angel Factory, which is Danforth Pewter. They make our little guardian angel coins. That's our first stop. And they're in Middlebury, Vermont. And then I'm headed to St. Louis, Missouri. I actually applied I don't know if I'll get it, but I applied to be a keynote speaker at the Bereaved Parents of the USA National Conference.
It'd be a mistake if they didn't have you.
Okay, if I don't do the keynote thing or one of the keynote speakers, then I'll do a workshop, like a silk painting workshop, because I do a lot of presentations having to do with, getting your grief and your feelings and emotions out through painting silk. So hand painting silk with different colors. And then I'm learning how to do sound baths using, working through grief, using the Tibetan bowls and the crystal bowls. I'm taking a really great grief movement class with Paul Denniston and learning how to help people move through their grief with their bodies and their sound and breath. So just finding different ways, modalities of helping people, feel their grief and honor their grief and not try to shove it away or push it down.
Yeah. And there are so many. I mean, that's the thing that I know from being in the spheres I'm in, like I'm in the metaphysical and spiritual communities, that there are so many modalities that people can use, different tools. And I mean, I hate to say a lot of it gets dismissed, called the woo-woo thing. And I do not like that word at all. I don't even like it when people that are in it use it, because I just find it so like discrediting to things that are naturally a part of who we are. So I think that's amazing that you have found these different modalities to embrace.
Yeah. Well, when people talk like that, that it's born from fear.
Yeah.
It's born from fear, really, because, this is so cool. Like growing up in a Catholic school and like Sisters of Charity, I went to the Maryvale Orphanage, their day school with the Sisters of Charity. And, they always used to
When
talk
you do that, is that the flying nun?
about, and they always used to talk about God being everywhere. And I could never grasp that concept. And so what I've come to understand, well, through Amber and me physically and having a recording of the physical feeling of her spirit go through me and other things. But what I've come to understand is that God or the divine is actually the glue that holds everything temporal that we see in our world together. So I understand now when they say God is everywhere, God is the glue. So I call God Elmer, and it's one of the coolest things ever. I found this 2-foot tall skeleton last Halloween with feathery, lovely, fluffy white angel wings. And I have Elmer, I call him Elmer, and I have Elmer riding shotgun in my truck. Very cool. Now people are like, whoa.
Yeah, I would say I'd love to see the reactions of people driving by you. Like,
And it's so cool because I have this really neat decal, Embrace the Angel, with an angel, the logo. And it says the Giving Back Division of Tobias and Company. And so they see the angel logo and then they see the skeleton with wings and they're like, it's cool though. It's just a playful way to say something.
it is, and it is. It's like we have to laugh at. I mean, not laughing at our mortality, but it's just embracing it. That it is what it is. It's kind of one of my favorite statements. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I have to ask you, like in growing up, we all have sort of an idea of what we're going to do, and I don't think any of us ever imagined that we're going to be working in this space. I know, when I did events and entertainment, my sister was the funeral director. I had no desire to be anywhere near this, so but it just naturally happened. So what did you perceive yourself doing in life?
Well, funny enough, I mean, I believe we're all artists. We're
Yes,
born artists. I
yes.
believe that there's nobody that says I'm not an artist. I just simply will not take that because it's just a matter of finding your media. So I always felt like I was an artist. I loved creating. That's the key for me, is creating something beautiful or making something that's shredded or tattered or ugly, making that thing beautiful again. So that's what I imagined myself to be. um and I suppose, I guess I kind of am living my own legacy at this point. I'm just helping people in their darkest moments feel, that little bit of hope. There's a beautiful quote, and whenever people get the hope coin, the guardian angel coin, I always tell them this quote, that faith is hope holding out its hand in the dark.
It's pretty.
And that's the key, is that believing, not necessarily a religion, but just believing in something that's greater than ourselves and doing it without seeing or knowing. That's hope.
Yeah, it really is. It's taking the baby steps and just putting one foot in front of the other. That's one of the best uh, quotes that I know is the one that Steve Jobs says about, you can't connect the dots going forward. You have to look back. I'm paraphrasing very bad, but it's like, yeah, we don't know like where we're going until we look back at it and we go, oh, that's why that happened.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think what was the thing about, that's why your front windshield is bigger than your rear view mirror or something
Oh,
like that. Yeah, something. Yeah, I think it's that. But
that
yeah, if we just allow ourselves to be open, you know? Um, you ever notice when you feel goosebumps that somebody said something profound or you saw something amazing and outstanding? Something happened that was just beyond description, and you get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Goosebumps are the other side, in all caps, coming through our physical body to remind us they're there, where
Mm.
they are. But notice the next time you feel goosebumps, what you're doing and how you're feeling. And if you can be open to the possibility, I'm not saying it's true for anyone else but me, but it might be.
Yeah, I believe that. I definitely believe that, that innate, I would say the spirituality within us. That's
Yeah.
what that is. So,
Yeah.
well, I know I could talk to you forever about all of this stuff, and you're doing so many things. Is there any information you want to share, like how people can contact you, what you're up to? Oh, I wanted to, one thing I want to ask you is you mentioned recordings. What are you going to do with these recordings?
With Amber, you mean?
Yeah. Well, and you also mentioned your Annie, but you said you were putting something together.
Yeah, yeah. I actually have a pets tab on in the Embrace the Angel website that I'm populating right now, so I'll put it up there. But yeah, I actually have her whole month that she was alive. I have her whole life documented, but I have a suitcase that's like cataloged with her whole last month, everything she said. And she said incredible things. So there's another book that I'm working on the back burner right now. So I'll be working on that. Um, but yeah, we're excited. I'm going to be, announcing the Power of Pebbles and Angels tour. There's a really, really cool 2-minute YouTube video on the Embrace the Angel website. It's on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, Embrace the Angel, and it's 2 minutes. And the music to that little trailer, it's amazing, is called When Dreams Come True. So
Uh,
it's a beautiful piece of music. I have a Patreon account if folks want to support my work and Amber's legacy. So I have Patreon. I've got a GoFundMe account. Yeah, it's just if they go to embracetheangel.com, it's sort of the hub for everything, and there's lots of information there. And you know, um, yeah,
Sounds great, including the Death Cafe, right?
yep, the Death Cafe is listed with a link, a Zoom link there too. So everyone's welcome. We just love having people from all over the world come and just be with us, and it's nice. It really is. It's comfortable. It's nice. Every third Wednesday from 7 to 8:30. So
Yeah, I miss our live things. Do you ever think we'll get back to live?
I hope so. I certainly do. You know, I've got the two vaccines and a booster, so I'm feeling a little bit better. But a lot of folks aren't. So I want to make sure and until we can go hybrid, then I think we'll probably just stay with the online. But we're all kind of adapting to this online world somewhat. Um, and I know with a lot of the trainings that I've been doing that, you do feel connected with people even through the screen. So
Yeah, very true. And you're right, it does welcome people that otherwise would not be able to
yeah.
join locally.
Yeah. So, definitely the Death Cafe is it's an interesting concept. And I think I'm just so grateful to John Underwood for starting it.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful they had one because that's how I met you. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you definitely are, an angel walking on earth. So, I mean, it's taken something so, I would say, catastrophic and turned it into a mission to change the way that we look at death, the way that we perceive our reality, too. So,
Well, one of the other really amazing things that Amber said to me before she died, I was walking through, she wanted to die at home, as I mentioned. So I was walking through the living room. She was in front of the fireplace. And I heard her say something, and I walked over to her and I said, "What?" I bent down. I said, "What did you say, Amber?" And she was annoyed that she had to repeat herself, but she said, "I said, I know I'm here to help a lot of people." And I was like, it was hard for me to grasp. How could she know this? It's pretty incredible. And I can't believe it's my life.
I mean, just that you said she was 4. I
and
mean,
a half.
that would be important to a child that age.
12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanting to pass it home is, I mean, that's a whole discussion right there. How does a 4.5-year-old even know that? Which
Yeah.
to me says there's something beyond us. Yeah.
Most kids, and even kids that I've worked with that are dying, most kids are not afraid to die. They're
Yeah.
not. So we can learn something from our little mini teachers that have great lessons that we can learn.
Yeah. They haven't had all the gunk that messes up their mind that I've spent years trying to unravel. So yes. Years and lots of money.
Yeah, that's so true. But yeah, I think being more childlike, that childlike sense of wonder. I mean, I'm going to be 68, but I feel 6. I've recaptured in the last few years that joy, that zest, that kind of like, childlike curiosity. I love, love, love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where my hope is in being curious.
I love that. So on that note, I'm going to say people can find you on EmbracetheAngel.com. And I thank you so much for joining me today. It's honestly like an honor to know you. A blessing and an honor. So.
Thank you so much. And hey, you got courage as your little guardian angel. Look at you, girl. This is beautiful that you've got this wonderful avenue for folks like me and you to just share with the world. I'm just impressed. Thank you.
Yeah. It's one of those things like, all my coaches said, no, you don't do that now. I'm like, you know what? I'm trusting my intuition on this one. So
that's awesome. Good for you.
So thank you. So I am going to say it's the privilege of our lifetime is being exactly who we are designed to be, and our life legacy should be honored and shared at the end. I'm inspired to share this information so you have the ability to share your unique story and those of your loved ones in any desire you choose. To guide you, you can find my 2 end-of-life planning workbooks covering options in the death positive movement on Amazon. You can also download a free extensive executor checklist from my website covering details from what to do immediately following a death to military service details and to handling taxes. My website is celebratingthedash.com. Every life should be celebrated on how we live the years between birth and death. So I thank you for listening.